Almost a decade ago, a Rockford mother and her sons were found dead in the remains of a house fire. Investigators soon learned their deaths were no accident. Mimi Murphy spoke with Rockford police officers who investigated the case from the start. And Mimi, this is one case they're determined to solve.
Absolutely. Investigators knew from the beginning that Natasha Cleary and her boys, their lives being taken was something that they were not going to rest until they got this taken care of. Years later, the desire to bring those responsible to justice hasn't gone away.
From the very beginning, investigators suspected the fire on Canterbury Lane was no ordinary house fire. 30-year-old Natasha Cleary and her two sons, 12-year-old Marquwon Owens and 2-year-old Katarion Friar, were found dead in their burned home April 17, 2011.
Because the bodies, all three of them, were so badly burned, we were not able to see any obvious signs of trauma to them. So the autopsy is going to be important to determine exactly what they died of. Were they dead before the fire? Did the fire cause their death?
Those questions were soon answered. Autopsy results revealed all three were shot to death before the fire. Investigators believe the fire was intentionally set to cover up a triple murder. The day of the fire, Natasha's ex-husband and father of her 2-year-old, Katarion Friar, was arrested on an outstanding warrant. And then there was this.
Late that next day, the Monday night, almost midnight, a black male subject attempted to use her debit card at an ATM at the Northwest Bank in the 3100 block of North Rockton, which is just a few blocks away from where the murder happened.
Police knew the person caught on bank surveillance couldn't be Katarion Friar.
Was he in custody when the debit card was used?
He was. I think it would be safe to say at this point in the investigation that there would have to be more than one person involved in the case.
And still, nearly 9 years later, no arrests, something that's haunted the victims' loved ones and frustrated investigators.
Whenever you have children involved and murdered in the way in which they were murdered, and then the fire on top of that, you really don't see a lot of that in your career, and when you do, it really hits home.
Police are confident the information they need to close this case is out there. Maybe it's fear or perhaps loyalty, but for whatever reason, people who know who's responsible for the deaths of Natasha Cleary and her sons haven't been willing to come forward.
Well, I'm hopeful that we get that lead that puts us over the edge, and I can assure that if we do, we'll work our hardest to present that case to the State's Attorney's Office for charging approval.
We know there's people out there in the community who have information that could solve this. They could see this story today and they could make a phone call and they could solve the case.
Every year since their deaths, their family has held a memorial service on April 17th. This year, Natasha's mom told me she's not planning anything. She just doesn't have it in her. But I can tell you, Rockford Police have not given up hope and are more committed than ever to close this case. If you have any information, contact police. You don't have to give your name. All they want is your information. You can call Crime Stoppers and leave an anonymous tip, and hopefully someone will come forward with some information that can be helpful in this case.
I hope, because I know that family and officers are looking for closure.
Absolutely.
And this is a long-standing one that could use a nice solve stamp.
You got it.
All right, thanks, Mimi.